So in week 7, and by the way, we're just bringing in the YouTube audience right now. I had done a recap show earlier in the week, and I didn't want to double up. So we now are live on YouTube as well. So I'm just bringing in the YouTube audience. Hope everybody's doing good today. A lot of big games coming up. I just want to make sure to see if that caller did not. Let me see here. Just about to start the segment here. I just want to make sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like everything's good. So maybe he just had to go. Maybe I just didn't realize he was on there for as long as he was. You never know. All right. Yeah, it should be good to go. So I'll put it out there again. I forgot what the area code was. I think it was a 9. I think it was a local one, 952. When I mean local, I mean Minnesota. 952, I think it was. If my memory serves me correctly. Which, it doesn't always do that. Anyway, number 1 and number 2, Ohio State and Alabama head on the road. And like I mentioned, it's not just heading on the road. They're going against top 10 opponents. Now, Vegas, had to stop for a drink of agua. Vegas will tell you that these aren't going to be that good of games if you look at the spreads. I beg to differ. Let's get into the first marquee matchup. Alabama at number 9, Tennessee. The Crimson Tide have won 11 in a row against the Vols. And, man, Tennessee has a slew of injuries on both sides of the ball. Luckily, they do have that Kamara. That'll help them. That will definitely help them. But it does look like Hurd is going to be out. At least, well, we'll see. Sometimes in college, it can be harder because they don't have to be as outright as they do in the pros, and it's hard enough in the pros. Last week, man, Tennessee finally, right? Finally screwed themselves against Texas A&M by getting down. Not just that. They got down, sure. They rallied really late in the game, but 7 freaking turnovers. Bunch of fumbles. It was ridiculous. So inconsistency would be the perfect word when discussing Tennessee. What are they going to do? Are they going to show up for the second half? Are they going to get behind in the first quarter, catch back up by halftime, and make it a great game? And we're about to cut off here. So if you want to call in, we got 90 seconds because I had a little problems calling the show. A lot of the lines were busy. So I'm still live on Blog Talk, just not live as far as got to be on your phone to listen to it. Huh. That's weird. Anyway, let's get into this game. So where was I? I was just about to say something. Oh, last year. That's where I was going with. Last year, this game was tight. And it looked like Tennessee was going to get over the hump and win this game last year. It was very tight, very low scoring. They're going to have to keep it that way. But with all these injuries and just some of the major mistakes and loose play, and I don't know. I find it hard to believe that Alabama won't be able to put up some points on this defense. So Las Vegas has them, Bama. 14-point favorite. I'm going to go with this can be better game than that. It'll be closer than expected. I do think Bama wins 34-27, but I think it'll be closer. I think finally Tennessee will get off to a good start and not be down 21-3 at half. I think they actually show up to play. Now that they lost, they got nothing to lose. Although they certainly do, being on the east of the SEC. But they maybe they come in a little looser. Maybe I just think that it woke them up enough. They know potentially they look through that tape and they're like, wow, dude, we should have won that game, man. I'm talking about last week's and the week, or last year's with Alabama too. But 7 turnovers. I don't know. I just don't think they'll be down double digits at half. I think they'll be in the game pretty much throughout. Alabama will pull away, though. Ohio State at number 8, Wisconsin. Ohio State will travel to Wisconsin, like I mentioned in this marquee matchup. This is the ABC primetime game. A couple weeks back, the Badgers, they stubbed their toe against Michigan. That defense, that was a nasty defensive game. Kind of a throwback battle, which we assumed it would be, 14-7. Should be noted that, excuse me, that Wisconsin, Michigan missed 3 field goals. I mentioned that because it probably, for a defensive battle, it would have been 23-7 or even 20-7, whatever, maybe just missed 1. But also just keep that in mind with Michigan in these tight games down the stretch. And also, Alex Hornbrook was exposed. Now, the Wolverine defense is nasty, but 3 picks, just chucking it around, 9 of 25 passing. It's not going to get it done. But you know what? Ohio State was a little sluggish last week. They could have been looking ahead to this matchup against Indiana. They were a little sluggish anyway. They ended up, righting the ship and finishing it strong. Coming to this matchup, Ohio State is ranked in the top 10 on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And that goes along with, combined with a higher quality of talent at many positions. And, of course, quarterback, which is key in these tight tit-for-tat games. The point spread's 11. I'm going to say Ohio State 23-16. I think that it'll be a really tight game, and it'll just be a little too much Ohio State getting pressure on that young QB and also finishing drive, something Michigan wasn't able to do. Finishing a few, I should say. However, we're looking at that 11-point spread. I think it'll be under, like I mentioned, 23-16, because the Badgers have the second best record at home since 2015, and they tend to cover the spread at Camp Randall no matter what it is, okay? Some of the games under the radar, number 12 Ole Miss versus number 22 Arkansas. This is a very important SEC conference scrap for both. That must wins for both, no doubt about it. Each team did lose to Bama. They were able to rally back in the game to an extent. Ole Miss obviously had that big lead early, but that thing was shrunk, by halftime. This is a good matchup, though. This is a really good matchup. Obviously, Arkansas is going to look to control time of possession. If they do that, they'll probably win. Which Ole Miss team will show up? They're all over the place with some great performances within the game, for 2 quarters. They're probably the best first half team in the nation, right? The only complete game was against Georgia. That's their only complete effort of the whole season. I think this game comes down to the wire. The Hogs get it done with little time on the clock. I'm going for the minor upset here. I think it's an 8-point spread. And I think Arkansas is at home, so that's more like 11, 12-point favorite. But I think they'll bounce back, and that's kind of my upset of the week to an extent anyway, but not really. I got a more juicy one for the actual upset of the week. North Carolina at number 16, Miami. Which teams will show up here? If you look at it, this is a crucial tilt within the ACC Coastal. And as we know, usually anyway, the Coastal comes all the way down to the wire. Florida State got beat by North Carolina on that kick. Virginia Tech just stomped North Carolina. Miami, FSU, obviously came down to the wire. So my point is, who's more focused coming in off a loss? Will Miami be stuck kind of like, in the what could have been? Or will, North Carolina show up ready to play because they got embarrassed? I don't know. I think that's a good question. And obviously to me, that is the question for that game. Which one is ready, who can put away their loss and move on. And for me, I've been back and forth all week. When I wrote this, my first draft, I had North Carolina winning just because of that run defense, that poor run defense. Worse than the ACC, North Carolina is, and 113th in the nation. Not good. And the Canes, they love to pound the rock. They're second in rushing. Now, the second half, they weren't able to run the ball with a lot of success against Florida State, but they got a lot more talent. Even though that defense has been exposed, they have more talent. So your guess is as good as mine. I switched at the last second, 30-26. Miami gets it done, but I wouldn't doubt if Miami drops that one at home because they're still stuck in last week, and they've had a problem with, compounding a bad loss and it just reeling for the rest of their season. Got a couple of hardcore barn burners to talk about before we get out of here in my Saturday upset pick. West Virginia at Texas Tech. One sentence on this one, okay? The fact that this barn burner is marked as even at the sports betting books is all you need to know. That's going to be a great game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Raiders from Texas Tech pull that one off. My honorable mention in that category, Notre Dame versus Stanford. Leading up to this season, both teams marked this game on their calendars. It's been an ongoing rivalry non-conference-wise. But I'm hearing that Christian McCaffrey is not going to be in the game, and that's good enough for me to pick Notre Dame, even though they have struggled. Something's got to give over there. I mean, it has given, I guess, but they gotta bounce back and have a good performance. Kelly, the head coach there, is getting it from every single angle, and to an extent, rightfully so. The way he blames his players, and in a rain-filled game from Hurricane Matthew, how are you gonna be in shotgun and how are you gonna throw the ball 50% of the downs? Like, that just makes no sense. So anyway, I'm going to go with the Dame, but I don't know. I really don't know which that game. Both those, programs having a rough go at it, no doubt about it. Against the spread, I forgot about this category as well. Against the spread, Las Vegas says the Colorado Buffaloes, which are much improved this year, are 13.5 points better than Arizona State. Now, young quarterback for the Sun Devils and all, I think Arizona will compete. They'll lose, but they'll compete. It'll be a tight game. It'll be tighter than basically the 14 points. My honorable mention against the spread, Washington State is playing hot. They come off that big win, just domination over Stanford, right? And they're playing at home against UCLA as a home underdog. What is it, 4 or 5 points, something like that? So that's what I'm going with. What was the last? Oh, yeah, upset. So Nebraska's had some nice wins this year. They really have. And a couple of them have been really, really, really close, too. Another game, Clemson and NC State. That could be a barn burner. That could be a little bit better than what they're saying it will be. I could see that. NC State, they could put the ball in the air. They got some receivers. So just wanted to throw that in. So I'm going to pick for my upset special, number 10 Nebraska will go down swinging on the road at Indiana. It'll be a high-scoring Big Ten tussle. To me, the Hoosiers, the Hoosiers showed that they could hang with Ohio State, and that's good enough for me. They've been knocking on the door the last 2 years. They kicked it in against Michigan State, and beat them. But Michigan State's down this year, obviously. So yeah, that's my upset. I'm going to go with Indiana to upset undefeated Nebraska, number 10 in the country. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, guys. My Minnesota Gophers lost another tight freaking game, and it hurts. It hurts. It's unfortunately, it's kind of looking like last season where there were so many tight games. If they could have just won half of them, they could have had a better season. Right now, starting QB, Mitch Leidner had a horrible game. He definitely took a step back. He's looked really good this year, and he looked good closing last year, but he had a bad game. And maybe this was due to it. He started kind of feeling some concussion symptoms after the game, not necessarily during it. He passed all the tests then, but after the game, once he settled down, adrenaline wore off, I guess. You see that in boxing once in a while. I also, for those who don't know, most people do, but I do the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast every Wednesday. You can listen to it live or subscribe to it on iTunes, just like here, same place, Blog Talk Radio / Rope-A-Dope Radio. So they got a walk-on. I mean, he's not a walk-on anymore. He walked on originally. He has a scholarship now. He played for a local team, Cretin-Durham Hall. If you follow the national recruiting scene, you've probably heard of that high school. It's definitely developed some talent. Winky Wright, and several guys. Joe Mauer, actually, too. He was on full ride to Florida State prior to him playing baseball. So I'm a little bummed out from my home squad, and they go on the road in a winnable game, but without their starting QB, I don't know, man. I just can't. You hear the confidence in my voice? I think it's a 6-point. It was a 4-point favorite for Maryland, the Terrapins. I was serving them in the home of the Terrapins for the Terrapins, but I believe that it goes down even more, or goes up. Down, I guess, for me, being a Gopher fan. I think it went up to 6 or 7 now that Leidner's not in there. I just don't see it happening, man, unfortunately. It sucks. But what are you going to do? I think they're going to lose. But, I've picked with them. I've picked against them. And maybe they'll pull it out this week. Who knows? You never know. But I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not really, I don't think it'll happen. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy week 7 for college football. I'll be back next week, of course, on Blog Talk Radio with the full formatted podcast where we kind of do a combo of recap and prediction, and also the YouTube. I'll bounce back and do a recap before I do a prediction